Hey everybody, today is the 4th of July, meaning it is time to talk about 1997's I Know You Did Last Summer. Now this is the first of 3 movie reviews coming because we are getting a remake in the next coming up weeks, so I'll be doing a video on the remake and then ranking all the movies in this franchise after that. So be on the lookout for that if you're interested. And let's talk about I Know You Did Last Summer from 1997. If anyone does not know, this tells the story of 4 teens who are involved with a hit and run who come on the 4th of July, who come to regret it a year later. Now, there's quite a couple things I do like about this movie. I do like the characters we get. I do like the way the characters interact. Helen personally is my favorite character from this movie. For a character who could have easily become stereotypical and I don't root for, I really enjoyed how that actor played her part, and especially just how lively she was a year prior, only to come out a year later and her life is just completely different. And the effects that accent had of guilt on all of the characters, especially one in particular, which we'll talk about in spoilers, but just the way the group is so close together, and there's 2 couples together in the beginning, and then a year later, all the couples are broken up, and they're just so distant from each other. And even there's one point where Helen's trying to tell Julie, trying to reach out and be friends again. So I really do like that aspect. I do like the characters, and I also do think the story plays out well for the most part, although we'll get into why it's not a full positive, but I do think the story is pretty solid for this one as well. And I do think that it does have a good amount of runtime for me. But there's quite a few things I'm mixed on for this movie as well, for as well known as it is. And the first thing I'm kind of always been mixed on is the twist we have in this one. And I don't know if it's only me in this boat, but I would have been fine without the twist, to be honest. Even though it just kind of like irks a little bit into everything, I don't know, I'm kind of always been mixed on that. And that's really the only mix I have, because everything else is really good. I think is fine for this movie. It's a good slasher. I only have really 1 negative or 2 negatives, and that is easily going to be the ending. They show a little ending, and obviously this was good. They were trying to open a door for it, but they just showed the end. I still know, and that was just like, come on, and no one saw it on campus. Okay. And my second thing is there are some scenes that point out to me as why, because there's a series of scenes on the boat, and I do enjoy the boat chase for the most part, but part of me always bothered she was close enough to deck to do this, but she didn't swim. And there was a scene shown with one other character involved that she could have swam, but she didn't. She chose not to, and that always kind of bothered me for some reason, of why she didn't swim to shore. That's just where I thought it went. But that's really my only 2 negatives for this, because I really do, most of it goes into spoilers, which we're talking about right now. And the first spoiler I really do want to talk about is kind of the twist or reveal at the end, that the person that was trying to kill them was the guy who they tossed in the water. That's obvious, isn't it? But here's where the twist comes. So it actually ends up turning out that the guy they thought that they killed, they didn't kill. Another guy killed him, but they killed the guy who killed the guy they originally thought was, because of his daughter, Susie. And to me, that felt a lot for this kind of movie. And it didn't ruin it for me, but it's always been mixed. And I don't know if I'm the only one with that. And even with Julie being as a final girl, I've always kind of preferred Helen over her. I don't know why. I think Julie's a fine final girl, but Helen's always been my favorite. And I do wish she did survive instead, controversial, I wish Helen survived instead of the other guy. I am gonna rewatch the second one again, so I don't remember much from that one, but I'll see how I feel about them then. But I really do wish that she have survived, because I just really enjoyed her character that much. And lastly, the fisherman, I do think he was a good fit for this type of movie. I understand what they were going for with urban legend. I get what they were going for. However, it doesn't quite land as iconic as certain other slashers are. If you compare it to Scream, which came out a year earlier, Ghostface is very plain as well, like the fisherman. but he's more well known and more iconic than the Fisherman, if that makes sense. And he's just never been there. I honestly completely forgot about the Fisherman, really, until I watched this movie, and I'm like, oh, right, that's the villain. And he just does not come to mind. I do think he does work for this type of movie, and I do eventually want to get something from I Know You're Less in my collection, but I don't know. He's always been an okay villain. He's never really memorable.
Also did want to add, I do think Julie is a decent final girl, but she's one of those final girls that need others' help 100% to survive the entire movie. And I'm not a big fan of those final boys or girls that go that way, because it can be done where you can survive with one person's help, or you can survive by your own for a period of time, but she's never been that type of final girl. But I do think she's decent. There is a scene that I want to call back to that Helen faced off the killer by herself for the most part for a good portion of time before he got her, and she was able to survive by herself against Fisherman longer than Julie was able to. So I did want to point that out. And I do also want to say that when Julie's ex went to visit the sister of who they thought they killed, I thought that was a nice touch to show how the guilt followed him, and enough touch to why she was so afraid of him and why she ran away with the boat, and why her judgment was so glossed over. So I did like that little detail. I just wanted to add those two little things.
But overall, I do think this is a good slasher movie. There are a lot of good characters I enjoy, and I do think that the plot is good overall. But there are a few things I was not a big fan of. I wasn't a big fan of a little twist. It's always been mixed for me when I watch this movie. And I've never been a fan of the ending of where they just put, I still know at the end, because I've never been a fan of movies when they do that personally. It's just like trying too hard for a sequel there, which I understand they did, but I understand that. But at the same time, they could have done better. So let me know what you think. Are you guys excited for the remake or seeing this one? Comment down below, and I'll see you guys soon with a brand new video.